Vanessa Cole had everything most people could only dream of: wealth, beauty, power. She lived in a world where doors opened before she even touched them, and people bent to her will without question. But beneath that perfect life was something far less admirable: a quiet cruelty, a habit of looking down on those she believed were beneath her. And in her eyes, no one was lower than the girl who worked as her maid, a girl she ignored, a girl she disrespected, a girl she never truly saw. But what Vanessa didn't know was that the same poor maid she treated like nothing was hiding a truth that would soon change everything. Vanessa's life was built on luxury. Her home was a massive mansion filled with polished marble floors, grand staircases, and expensive artwork that most people would never be able to afford. Everything around her reflected wealth. Everything except her attitude. She moved through the house with confidence, her presence commanding attention without effort. Servants worked quickly whenever she entered a room, careful not to make mistakes. Because everyone knew one thing: Vanessa had no patience for imperfection. To her, people weren't equal. Some mattered, and some didn't. Among the many workers in the mansion, there was Lily. She was quiet, almost invisible, always moving carefully, always keeping her head down. She spoke softly, worked diligently, and never caused trouble. In a house filled with noise and authority, she was the silence. To anyone else, she might have seemed unimportant, but Lily noticed everything: every word, every action, every insult, especially the ones directed at her. Scene 4. Daily humiliation. For Vanessa, Lily became an easy target, someone she could criticize without consequence. No matter how well Lily did her job, it was never enough. If the room was clean, it wasn't clean enough. If the tray was steady, it wasn't steady enough. If she moved quickly, she wasn't fast enough. And if she spoke, it was already too much. Day after day, the pattern repeated itself: sharp words, cold looks, unnecessary corrections. And through it all, Lily remained silent. Not because she had nothing to say, but because she had something far more important to protect. One evening, something small changed everything. As Lily carefully carried a tray of tea across the room, a slight misstep caused a drop to spill onto Vanessa's dress. It was barely noticeable, but to Vanessa, it was unacceptable. The atmosphere shifted instantly. What had been a quiet moment turned tense in seconds. Vanessa's reaction was immediate and harsh. Anger replaced her composure, her expression tightening with frustration. Lily froze, fully aware of what was coming. And just like every time before, she apologized. Softly, quickly, but it didn't matter. Because for Vanessa, it was never about the mistake. It was about control. And in that moment, Lily became the focus of her anger once again. But when the mansion finally grew quiet, when the lights dimmed and the noise disappeared, Lily's world changed. The quiet maid everyone saw during the day was gone. In her small room, away from watchful eyes, she sat in front of a laptop. Her posture was different, her expression sharper, focused, intentional. The hesitation that defined her during the day had completely disappeared. Documents filled her screen: information, records, plans. This was no ordinary routine. This was preparation. Careful, calculated preparation for something far bigger than anyone in that house could imagine. Lily's story didn't begin in that mansion. Years ago, her life had been very different. Her family had once built something meaningful, a company that represented years of hard work and dedication. But it hadn't lasted. Everything they had created was taken from them. Through betrayal, through manipulation, through power they couldn't fight against. And at the center of it all was the very family Lily now worked for. After the loss, everything fell apart, and Lily was left with nothing but memories and a promise to herself. One day, she would take it all back. Lily hadn't entered that mansion by accident. Every step had been intentional, every decision calculated. While Vanessa saw her as insignificant, Lily was quietly observing everything, learning, understanding how the system worked from the inside. And slowly, piece by piece, she began to rebuild what had once been hers. Not loudly, not recklessly, but carefully, patiently, waiting for the right moment. That moment came sooner than expected. Changes began happening within the company Vanessa's family controlled. Small at first, almost unnoticeable. But then, they grew. Decisions were challenged. Control began to shift. And for the first time, there was uncertainty. Vanessa, who had always lived in certainty, began to feel something unfamiliar: doubt. The truth revealed itself in a single moment: a name that changed everything: Lily Anderson. At first it didn't make sense, but then it did. The quiet maid, the girl who never spoke, the one she had ignored. Suddenly, everything connected. And the realization hit harder than anything Vanessa had experienced before. When Vanessa finally stood face to face with Lily again, nothing felt the same. The balance had changed. The girl standing before her was no longer small or invisible. There was no fear in her eyes, no hesitation in her posture, only quiet confidence, the kind that didn't need to be proven. And for the first time, Vanessa understood what it felt like to not be in control. In the weeks that followed, everything began to fall into place. But not for Vanessa. The power her family once held started to slip away. Decisions were no longer theirs to make. The control they once took for granted was gone. And Lily, the girl who had once been overlooked, was now standing at the center of it all. Not with arrogance, not with cruelty, but with quiet certainty. In the end, there was nothing left to say. No argument that could change what had already happened. No power left to reclaim. Only the weight of realization and the understanding of something that had been ignored for too long. Because sometimes, the people who seem the weakest are simply waiting for the right moment.